Love CVille Show. It's an absolute pleasure to connect with you guys on the I Love CVille Network on a gorgeous and glorious day in downtown Charlottesville. Goodness gracious, we got a lot to talk about. In the 30 to 45 minutes prior to the show, Jude and I kind of work on, we call it pre-production, the ideas we want to talk about on the program. We have this insatiable appetite for reading. I love to read. I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite pastimes is reading anything. Sports, financial news, local news, politics, economics, entrepreneurship, anything reading I love to do. Love the written and spoken word. And we particularly have an appetite for local content, and we scour various media outlets, and we decide what we're going to talk about. And when the media outlets don't have stuff that we find compelling, we have conversations of what we think is compelling that we should be relaying to you. And this program is one where we want to be the water cooler of information. We don't want to break the information. We don't want to be the source of the information all the time. We want the information to kind of aggregate and live here on the I Love CVille Show. So if you, the viewer and listener, have something that you think is compelling that the viewers and listeners should know, pass it along to us, and we will most certainly relay it live on air. There's some headlines that we're going to get to, including a jail renovation coming in with bids and estimates way over budget that did not make the rundown. Judah's going to put that in perspective for us here in a matter of moments. Kevin Cox, who we interviewed on Friday, he's the Charlottesville activist who's been in this community for just about all his life. Lived in the city for goodness gracious longer than a lot of us have been alive. He's starting to go international with this story. Kind of crazy to say. And Kevin, if you're watching this program, my friend, we still have your water bottle here that you left on Friday afternoon. Please come pick it up. H2O is important. Bobby Boucher loves water. I love water. You love water. Come pick up your water bottle, Kevin Cox. But the man's story is going international. The Guardian has picked up Kevin Cox's story and is talking about some of the legal troubles he is facing. I want to talk on today's show about Bert Ellis. Bert Ellis is in the news again, this time on a blog that we follow closely, Bacon's Rebellion. Bacon's Rebellion and its author does a fantastic job of shining an investigative spotlight on the University of Virginia. And Bacon's Rebellion basically asks this question: did the University of Virginia violate its own policies to strategically and intentionally smear Bert Ellis in public, in newspapers, with the media? We'll unpack that story for you today. We interviewed Mr. Ellis, and we found Mr. Ellis in the interview very composed and measured and thoughtful, and a man who is perhaps, and not perhaps, but definitely very far from what this public persona that's been crafted by the media depicts him, including, frankly, us. We fall victim into that, crafting a persona of Bert Ellis that may not be who Bert Ellis is as an everyday Joe. I want to talk Robert Hardie, the rector of the Board of Visitors. And folks, the Board of Visitors are meeting right now. They're meeting tomorrow and Friday. A lot is on that agenda. There's some speculation that Jim Ryan's job security is being discussed in closed session with the BOV. Very curious to see if the BOV discusses the turmoil of the Virginia Athletic Department. Goodness gracious. The last 12 months have not been kind to the University of Virginia's athletics department. And we're going to publish later today on ilovecville.com a timeline of the last 12 months with UVA athletics, just kind of a flip book of what's transpired. And I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, has this been the most challenging 12-month period for UVA athletics in its entire history? Two Hall of Fame coaches, Tony Bennett and Brian O'Connor, leave Virginia athletics. The football program's got the worst record over the last 3 years of any football program in power football. You lose to Virginia Tech again on the gridiron, again. The men's lacrosse team finishes with a sub 500 record. The basketball team doesn't make the NCAA tournament. The baseball team doesn't make the NCAA tournament. Virginia announces a new pay scheme, a new fundraising scheme for seating at the John Paul Jones Arena, where if you don't fork over thousands, in some cases tens of thousands of dollars, you're not going to keep your seats at the John Paul Jones Arena. And Carla Williams gets a mysterious contract extension. Goodness gracious. That timeline of events should be published on ilovecville.com this afternoon. A lot I want to cover on the program. I encourage you, the viewer and listener, to like and share the show. Jack and Jill's, the institutional diner. Would you call it a diner? How would you call it? Lunch counter? I mean, it serves more than lunch.
Yeah.
Greasy Spoon, maybe, is closing for summer break. William McChesney, who I respect a lot, he sends a lot of information to us on the show. He says, is this potentially foreshadowing for some troubles for Jack and Jill's on East High Street? I certainly hope not. We broke the news for you that Tubby's was closing down on the 27th of June, and an auction where all the equipment is being auctioned off in a fire sale where they're trying to recoup any money possible by selling the equipment for pennies on the dollar. Tubby's is Jack and Jill's next door neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, are we seeing a changing of the guard on East High Street here, folks? Are we seeing a changing of the guard that is just common practice in the world of small business where changes and transitions happen? Or is this something that's concerning on East High Street specifically? I want to have that conversation today on the I Love CVille Show. And I want to highlight Friday at 10:15 a.m. on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Friday at 10:15 a.m. on this network. Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum, will be here, as will Emily Kilroy, the director of economic development for Albemarle County. So that's Friday at 10:15 a.m. A pretty good interview with Emily Kilroy and Neil Williamson lined up for you. We hope you will watch that interview. Judah Wickower, studio camera, 2-shot. I ask you this question to start every program. Which headline do you find most compelling and why? Wizard Wickower, jack of all trades, jack of all wits, on today's rundown. And frankly speaking, it could be some of the headlines that did not make the rundown. We have a couple that we couldn't fit in there.
I mean, I think it's pretty wild that Kevin Cox has got his story on as far afield as Scottish Construction Now.
He's going international, Kevin Cox.
That's pretty wild.
The Guardian picks it up, and once platforms like The Guardian start picking it up, all these other second and third rate and party outlets will start picking it up as well.
It's sometimes funny how often Charlottesville seems to make widespread news sources.
Charlottesville lives in the national and global headlines.
It seems to now.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
I'm also interested in the story from Bacon's Rebellion about the body cam footage taken of Bert Ellis, at the time a UVA Board of Visitors member, and nobody's really talking about the fact. I mean, this article definitely talks about the fact that UVA has specific rules that preclude a lot of what happened here in terms of what they do with the body cam footage. But what I'm interested in, which I haven't heard anyone talk about, is the fact that somebody thought to save that footage.
Well, we know why.
Well, yeah, we know why, but I don't hear that being discussed.
The body cam footage. The body cam footage is footage that a UVA police officer wore from a camera. Footage from a camera that a UVA police officer wore.
Multiple.
Yeah.
Body cam angles.
Right. Multiple body cam angles. Let's let them know what it is. Bert Ellis is the managing partner of the White Spot, one of the owners of the White Spot. He is a big ownership team. Ralph Sampson's a part of that team as well. Mr. Ellis is the managing partner, the top dog at the White Spot. And he's sitting on the White Spot one evening, and he sees some UVA police officers on the beat, university police officers. and he approaches them.
Actually, I don't believe he did. Just saying.
That's debatable.
I think it was his own words that he didn't approach them.
Okay,
That they approached him because he was staring at them.
Okay. Do you call staring down the police officers approaching? Or you just call it staring? Okay. He stares down the police officers. And the police officers and Bert Ellis have a conversation.
Yeah.
In this conversation, Mr. Ellis does not use profanity.
Nope. He doesn't raise his voice either.
Does not use profanity, does not raise his voice. But the optics from this body camera footage are optics of antagonism.
Yeah.
Optics of aggressiveness. Optics of a cantankerous individual, if you may. And let's cut to the chase. If we ask Bert, are you alpha? Are you aggressive, and can you be cantankerous at times? He would probably say, at times. That's who he is.
There's
But
some additional
footage,
context, though, surrounding what had been going on in the corner around that time, too.
Oh, crime. Unsafe. And he was basically saying, why aren't you UVA police officers working this beat, patrolling this beat a little more visibly, aggressively, and a little more focused on safety?
Yeah, because they were just sitting in their cars across the street from the corner and pretty much just chatting it up with each other.
And the conversation now is, why was this Bert Ellis body camera footage saved?
Yeah.
The UVA policy on body camera footage is
90 days. They upload it to a system called, I think it's called Elevate. Was that what it was? Just a second. It was, they upload it to a system called evidence.com, a law enforcement cloud storage system. And unless it's needed for investigations, trials, or training purposes, they're supposed to be automatically purged 90 days after creation.
But this particular footage with Bert Ellis, who was still on the Board of Visitors at the University of Virginia, was cherry-picked.
Popped up 2 years later.
Was saved in the digital or cloud vault.
Somebody knew
And 2 years later was leaked to the Washington Post.
Which brings up other questions. Obviously, they didn't just guess that there was footage out there. I believe they filed FOIA requests, but who told them that video was alive and available?
How do two Washington Post reporters who do not specifically follow the University of Virginia from a beat standpoint or from a reporting focus standpoint have the wherewithal or the intelligence to FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, the University of Virginia, specifically for police officer body camera footage from 24 months ago?
Yeah, right at the time when the whole kerfuffle between Youngkin and Ellis was heating up, which
was inspired by Bert Ellis holding Jim Ryan and the University of Virginia accountable and to task on diversity, equity, and inclusion spending and a bloated budget and its pursuit of being this new Ivy League school. Listen to this. A man on the Board of Visitors, appointed for a 4-year term by the governor of Virginia, the most powerful person in the Commonwealth. He's on the Board of Visitors. He's ripping the president of the university, Jim Ryan. He's holding the university accountable for what is excessive spending on unnecessary administrators, excessive spending on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is in the crossfire of Donald Trump and his administration. Bert Ellis, who has said UVA needs to cut all construction and trim its budget by 10%, which is more than $500 million. The budget for UVA yearly is over $5 billion, has body camera footage
Not to
from
mention-
24 months ago, body camera footage of him interacting with a police officer saved in a digital vault or a digital safe, and then it's leaked in some capacity to the Washington Post for a smear campaign. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Judah.
I was just going to add that
it's incredible.
Part of Ellis's tirade's not the word, but part of his part of what he was wanting from UVA, you mentioned
his mission.
You mentioned cutting administration spending, was that money could be used to lower tuition costs, which is something that is currently in the news cycle right now, with the cost of in-state and out-of-state tuition and how expensive it is.
Absolutely unbelievable. We'll talk about it today on the I Love CVille Show. We want to highlight Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, 60 consecutive years, in fact, 61 years in business. John Vermillion, Andrew Vermillion, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. The Vermillions, 4 generations in Albemarle County. John Vermillion, a good man. Andrew Vermillion, a great man. Online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com and in person on East High Street. Support these businesses. Sanitary needs, swimming pool. Our swimming pool's open. It stays picture perfect blue because of Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Support these businesses, guys, that you want to see make it another 61 years. I want to talk Robert Hardie on today's program, the rector of the Board of Visitors. His term expires on July 1. Robert Hardie has been on the Board of Visitors for 12 years, including the past 2 as rector. Robert Hardie has 3 degrees from the University of Virginia. He's a former lawn resident. He was a one-time managing editor of the Cavalier Daily. He bleeds orange and blue. I may not always see eye to eye with Robert Hardie from a politics standpoint, but one thing that I will never question is his commitment to the University of Virginia. Hardie and his wife Molly are huge UVA boosters. They have the naming rights because of a massive donation of the Molly and Robert Hardie Football Operations Center, which is a state-of-the-art 93,000 square foot facility that opened this past June. He owns Keswick Hall, Robert Hardie. He's a businessman that has some of the most established brands and businesses in his holding company and in his purview. He's a man that absolutely bleeds orange and blue. And as he recently said, he first fell in love with the University of Virginia as a 10-year-old watching the wonderful Wally Walker lead the Virginia basketball team to its first ever ACC championship. We're going to talk Jack and Jill's on today's program. They're closing for summer break. It's not a permanently closing announcement at this point.
It's good to hear.
They said on Facebook, we're going to close for summer break and we will reopen. They want to recharge. In fact, I'll read a portion of the announcement. After serving up smiles and meals since 1945, we're taking a little break to recharge, refuel, and maybe finally do the dishes at home. We are closed for vacation for a while. We're incredibly grateful for your loyalty and support. I'm going to ask you this question. Are we seeing a changing of the guard on East High Street? Did that changing of the guard on East High Street start with the closing of the Double Horseshoe Saloon? Did that changing of the guard on East High Street then include the closing of Tubby's that's been around since 1982? Now Jack and Jill's is closed for summer break. The Double Horseshoe Saloon, Jack and Jill's, and Tubby's have a clientele that is somewhat similar. You have a middle-class, blue-collar clientele that patronizes these locations. We talked on yesterday's program, the working class, the blue-collar, the middle class is clearly being pushed out and gentrified out of the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. And as a result are the dominoes that that are falling are the closing of businesses or the headwinds of businesses that cater to this customer or consumer. What is next on East High Street? John Blair has this comment on LinkedIn, his photo on screen. Just call me Broken Record Blair, but you've got Tubby's going out of business and now Jack and Jill's doing a summer closing. Look at the same quarter. What's open in the past year? Maple Tree Cafe and Sugar Bear. Now, don't take this the wrong way. It's great to see people pursuing their dreams and entrepreneurs have to play the market. But can you say gentrification? He's exactly right. You're seeing a changing of the guard on East High Street. And I'm going to say it here. I'm going to say it here for you, the viewer and listener. That same changing of the guard on High Street will impact Cherry Avenue as well. Cherry Avenue, that shopping center that is now owned by the Woodard family, Anthony Woodard, who's an absolute unit in the weight room. The guy's a beast. He's like a grizzly bear in the weight room, Anthony Woodard. I've seen him throwing up steel, deadlifting, bench pressing. I mean, the dude is a freaking grizzly bear. Woodard owns a good chunk of Cherry Avenue. They purchased a good chunk of Cherry Avenue in nondescript fashion during the COVID pandemic when commercial prices faced significant headwinds and when values started dropping. These folks are smart. They're greedy when people are scared. The old Warren Buffett mentality. Article released on CNBC earlier this week. The commercial office space is now filling back up. The return to office movement is now in full force, ladies and gentlemen. So that commercial office space not facing the headwinds we initially thought. Remember at one time we all said that commercial office space and office space in general was going to go the way of the dodo bird or the T-Rex. Doesn't seem to be happening like that. Tom Powell, I'm going to get to your comments in a matter of moments. Margie King Collins, yes, the owner of Jack and Jill's, did pass away. His name was Zanice. Zanice, a friend of mine, lived in Glenmore. I used to live in Glenmore. I used to see Zanice walking around the loop in Glenmore all the time. Fantastic man, kind man, considerate man, Zanice. Viewers and listeners, let us know your best Zanice story from Jack and Jill's. I got a great one for you. You know the one I'm going to tell?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite stories.
I know.
I'm looking to purchase an office condo in the Holsinger building, right off of the downtown mall, on one of the side streets between the downtown mall and Water Street. What's that side street? It's the side entrance to Commonwealth Sky Bar in Passiflora. Is that 5th Street?
Yeah.
Is it 5th?
Yeah.
It's the tiny side street between the mall and Water Street. I had been renting our offices for so long around downtown Charlottesville. And finally, I had cobbled together some money. One shot me, and then we'll weave you in. I'd cobbled together some money to purchase a commercial condo. Would have been my first purchase from a commercial standpoint. And Bill Nitchman, my mentor, said, you know, that's for sale. Zanice owns it with his daughter. I bet you he would sell it to you. It's been vacant for so long. He took me over to Jack and Jill's, Bill Nitchman did, for some foot-long chili cheese hot dogs. Sat at the countertop. Zanice got to know him. He said, you know what? Come back when we're closed, and we can negotiate a price. Say it in broken English. Greek, fantastic Greek man. I said, all right, I'll come back. I show up after they're closed. I push the door. It's one of those swinging doors to get in. It was locked. Zanice comes to the front door, unlocks the door, shakes my hand, said, come on back. We sit in one of the back booths of Jack and Jill's, and lo and behold, Dr. Charles Hurt is sitting in the booth right there. He's got a blue blazer on with gold buttons. His tie is at half mast. Looks kind of disheveled, Dr. Hurt did. Got a mustard stain on his tie. And Zanice and Dr. Hurt are sitting on one side of the booth, and I'm sitting on the other side of the booth. Zanice is smoking Greek cigarettes, and he gets a napkin out on the table, has a Sharpie, and we negotiate a seller finance deal for this office condo in the Holsinger by passing the napkin back and forth, writing a number down, crossing it out, writing a number down, crossing it out. Dr. Hurt, the maestro, the conductor of the negotiation. At one time, Dr. Hurt told this to me to his face. At one time, you could not enter Albemarle County or leave Albemarle County without seeing one of the parcels of land or properties that he owned. He chuckled when he told me that. So we're passing the napkin back and forth, and finally we agree on a price, we agree on an interest rate, we agree on the term, seller finance deal is all buttoned up. Then Zanice goes, now we drink. He clapped his hands together, he goes, now we drink. And he went to the back of Jack and Jill's, and was it Ouzo?
I think that's probably it.
He bust out a bottle of Ouzo, the Greek liquor, and some Dixie plastic cups, and pours the Ouzo in the Dixie plastic cups, kind of like that cardboard cup, that waxy cup. And I'm sitting there drinking Ouzo while he's smoking Greek cigarettes, and I'm trying to like drink this Ouzo and not to have this I didn't like it. It didn't taste good. Have this nasty look on my face, and I'm like, oh, this is so good, Zanice. Give me some more of this Ouzo. Lo and behold, we shake on the deal. He says, my daughter also owns this office condo. I'll talk to her, and then I'll get my attorney to draw up the paperwork, and we'll get this all buttoned up. Next day, he says, come back. He reaches out to me and says, come back to Jack and Jill's. His daughter did not want to sell. She kiboshed the deal. I'm sure she's heard me tell this story. She did not want to sell the office condo, and I did not get to make that purchase. Long story short, it worked out for the best. Ended up buying from Larry Howard, the realtor who just passed away. He owned the guitar store with his son on Route 29. Remember that guitar store? Did I tell you Larry Howard passed away?
Yeah.
Larry Howard recently passed away. He was a realtor. I bought 2 office condos in the Macklin building from him, and then started on our journey of commercial real estate ownership. Now have 24 executive offices that we own and rent and manage, and it all started because that deal with Zanice fell through. Crazy times. But I asked the question of East High Street, are we seeing a gentrification of one of the most important corridors, because it's the gateway into Charlottesville and a gateway into Albemarle County? And are we going to see the same gentrification, ladies and gentlemen, on Cherry Avenue? I've often said those are 2 of the corridors that have significant upside. They're not pursuing their top potential at this point. A lot I want to cover on today's program. I want to highlight Charlottesville Business Brokers, one of our companies here at the Miller Organization. We've brokered north of $4 million in business transactions over the last 24 months, ladies and gentlemen. More than $4 million of brokered deals at Charlottesville Business Brokers, including Great Harvest Bread Company, including Croby's, Tangerine Kitchen, Moe's Barbecue, Package Depot, and we're working on one right now, Charlottesville Business Brokers. Tom Powell watching the program, he says this, his photo on screen, the founder of the Toy Lift, it's sad, but privately owned restaurants cannot compete with national chains. Nationwide buying power swamps local restaurants all the time. I'll highlight this. The oldest restaurant in Charlottesville, what is it, Judah?
Ooh, is it Timberlake's?
Yeah, very nice. You'll never forget that one again. Timberlake's is the oldest restaurant in Charlottesville, ladies and gentlemen. Timberlake's Drugstore has been around since 1890, which makes it 135 years old. It's been in 2 different locations. Okay? Timberlake's Drugstore, the owner of Timberlake's also owns the real estate. Maya Restaurant, Peter Castiglione and his former partner, Christian Kelly. Christian Kelly is now the owner of Dooners, but Peter Castiglione and Christian Kelly own the real estate of Maya. They also own the apartment above it, I think the building next door. The restaurant owners that own the real estate, Wilson Ritchie was trying to do this. He bought, before he passed away, Wilson Ritchie bought the Downtown Grill and the office space above it. And he was going to, now it's home to one of the restaurants that he was at one time an owner of, the Bebedero and Rockfish Brewing Company. The ones that are locally owned and operated that also own the real estate are the ones that are going to survive. this new world we're living in where people are eating out way less, where third-party delivery like Grubhub and Uber Eats are killing profit margin and diminishing food quality and certainly crushing experiences. Own the real estate if you're going to want to get into this game. All right, the first topic of the show is something we've touched on already. What does Bert Ellis do with this knowledge that footage was put in a digital safe far exceeding the 90-day policy for body camera police footage with the UVA Police Department? If you're Bert Ellis, how do you handle, manage, and deal with this?
Do you think he really wants to step back into the ring over this?
I mean, he strikes me a guy that probably has some grudges.
Yeah, no doubt. But
and he was frankly he was extremely mistreated, poorly treated.
No doubt about it.
And make sure we have the right lower third on screen.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe this is something that he wants to put time into and pursue. It just seems at this point that as saucy as the information is, that clearly somebody in the UVA hierarchy orbit decided that
it's got to be a Jim Ryan lieutenant. Jim
Ryan or Longo, or somebody wanted to keep that
footage
that
is leverage.
ammo dry and ready for whenever they needed to pull it out of their pack. And I don't know what that's worth, but it's wild. Just considering all the crazy stuff that's going on at UVA right now.
E.G. Williams on YouTube says, if police officers are unable to handle an individual who is sharing strong criticism, aggressive is too much and assertive maybe too little, then some police should have some more training should be pursued.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me, E.G. Williams says that all Bert Ellis was doing was questioning their methods of patrolling.
And he wasn't even doing that outright. They approached him. You can see in the footage that he was just standing out on the sidewalk in front of the white spot, and they didn't like him staring, so they came over to talk to him. And he's right. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't swear, and they really did not like anything that he had to say.
E.G. Williams, I appreciate your comments. Maybe Mr. Ellis is pursuing his grudge or his vendetta with what the Jefferson Council is doing with their very aggressive approach to getting Jim Ryan terminated at UVA, pursuing paid-for-print advertisements in the Daily Progress, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and publishing prolific commentary and analysis on the Jefferson Council website on what Ryan has done wrong. Maybe that's behind the scenes, his vendetta and grudge being actualized. Co-founder of that organization, the Jefferson Council.
Yeah.
And all this coincides with the Board of Visitors meeting today, tomorrow, and Friday, where some speculation has Jim Ryan's job security as a topic of conversation. And speaking of the BOV, the Robert Hardie headline on screen, if you could, I do want to commend Rector Robert Hardie for his commitment to the University of Virginia. 12 years he's been on the Board of Visitors, including 2 as rector. His term officially ends on July 1. This is a triple who, Robert Hardie, a former Lawn resident, a one-time managing editor of the Cavalier Daily, a guy who gave millions of dollars for the Robert Hardie Football Operations Center, which is a 93,000 square foot facility, state-of-the-art. Hardie bleeds orange and blue. And his term on the Board of Visitors as rector, which is basically the chairman of the board, expires, ladies and gentlemen, on the 1st of July. And then Glenn Youngkin will have absolute total control of the UVA BOV.
Yeah.
Ken Cuccinelli, Cooch, on the BOV right now. at the Boar's Head. His first time officially at the table, Cooch. So if you see Robert Hardie, give him some props, ladies and gentlemen. I've been told he watches and listens to the I Love CVille show from time to time. Maria Marshall Barnes says, on East High Street, Fabio's and Riverside make it hard to compete at lunch. She also says, Maria Marshall Barnes, that gentrification for sure has a huge impact on East High Street and everywhere. Bill McChesney, my wife's cousin in North Dakota, occasionally comments, well, Charlottesville's back in the news again from North Dakota. Charlottesville loves the national news, ladies and gentlemen. Can't stay out of the national news. Martha Freeman, welcome to the program. Doug McLeod, Barbara Becker-Tilley, and Jeremy Wilson, thank you for watching the show. Kevin Yancey, good afternoon to you. Judah Wickower, next headline for the viewers and listeners, my friend.
Oh, let's see. Verve.
This is a quick one. This is a quick hitter we want to give you. The Verve is the apartment complex, over 1,300 beds. It's an apartment tower that's being built next to Scott Stadium. The Verve, guys, is subtext. A national real estate developer is doing this. They have a land lease for the dirt next to Scott Stadium where they're building something. Do you still have those photos? You probably don't.
Of what?
The Verve?
The Verve, I might.
1,332 beds, 729,262 square feet on Stadium Road. Judah, is the news that Emmet Street for the next 2 months is going to have closures on it?
Part of Emmet Street. Emmet Street South between Stadium Road and JPA will close on June 9th, and it's expected to stay closed until August 15th.
Look, when people say that more supply is going to stabilize prices, push back on them on that. That's not been the case. And also, when people are saying new housing is important, realize that Emmet Street's going to be closed for 2 months. Realize that Old Ivy Road, where they're doing the Old Ivy residences, is going to be greatly impacted traffic flow. The project next to Moe's Barbecue is going to impact traffic flow on Ivy Road. Our time is our most precious commodity. And sitting in our vehicles because construction traffic has altered our routes to and from our family, to and from work, and to and from leisure activities, that is called opportunity cost. That impacts us negatively. Enough is enough. Anything you want to add to that, Judah?
As far as things go, I've heard it said that that this might actually be a smart way to do things. Get everything done out of the way over the summer while the students are gone. But
while the students are gone, we're not students.
I know, but we're also talking about changing traffic for a good...
For 2 months.
Yeah.
For 2 months. I mean... Next headline, what do you got?
Next we have, let's see, we already went over Jack and Jill. Changing of the guard on East High Street. You've got your UVA sports timeline coming.
This will be done right after the show on ilovecville.com. I've got a 12-month timeline, a timeline of events for UVA athletics over the last 12 months. Took me about half an hour to put it together. I was curious myself as someone who's a fan of the University of Virginia Athletic Department, and I was astonished with what has happened over the last 12 months. And it's led me to ask you this question, the viewer and listener this question. I asked Jerry Ratcliffe this question. I said, has this been the most challenging or tumultuous year for UVA athletics in its history? And he said, Jerry Ratcliffe, who would know this, he's written multiple books, has been to 50, I think it's 51 now, ACC basketball tournaments straight. He said he's never remembered in his time covering Virginia athletics a more challenging year for the athletic department than the last 12 months.
No doubt.
That timeline coming up on ilovecville.com, ladies and gentlemen. And then I'll close the program with one item that did not get in the rundown, the jail renovations. Put that in perspective for the viewers and listeners, because I think they should know what's happening here.
There's been some acrimony over a group of Charlottesville and Albemarle County natives being extremely dissatisfied with the changes being proposed for the jail. The jail some parts of the jail were built, I believe, over 75 years ago, and are in serious need of upgrades. Say what you will about the people in jail. They shouldn't be living in I don't know. I haven't seen the conditions myself, but the jail does need upgrades. When City Council decided how to make those upgrades, there were, I believe, 3 different levels of costs that they were proposing, and they chose to go with the most expensive. And there are people who feel that the inmates would be far better served with spending that money on services to help keep them, or services to help them once they are released, services to help other people stay out of prison, rather than spending it all on expanding the jail. Because, and I get the idea. We're not trying to make room for more people. We don't want people in jail. That's not the best way to do things. We'd rather find a way to head people off before they get to the point where they end up in jail. So now, with all of this going on, the City Council put out a call for bids, an open call for bids to do the work required.
Estimates came in too expensive.
And
long story
estimates,
short, like they always do.
Every
They
single
always do.
But every single one of them came in, I believe, way over.
And are we surprised by that? Trump's got tariffs everywhere.
Yeah.
Labor's more expensive than it's ever been. Gasoline still ain't cheap. It's expensive to do any kind of work here. Are we surprised they came in higher than what they were? I got a client that's opening a business that, knock on wood, is going to open later this summer. Okay? A bouldering and rock climbing gym on Old Ivy Road. Great guy. Mm-hmm. Mike Kinnick, a great guy. Later this summer, Rock Revolution is going to open on Old Ivy Road. You may remember the location as the former home of Pure Bar. Okay? We helped him find this spot. Connected him with the owner of the building. He was searching for a long period of time. I can't wait for his business to open. He's had delays and overruns with construction. Overruns tied to tariffs.
Yeah, no doubt.
I got other clients that are facing the same headwinds. Tariffs, headwinds with construction. Everything overruns.
Yeah.
I mean, the folks that are pushing... I walked into Truist Bank. Karen... what is Karen's... I should know this. Karen Timberlake, the teller at Truist Bank. Love Karen.
Yeah.
Dear, sweet woman. She said, goodness gracious, they're spending all this money on the jail. How about they do something for us seniors here in Charlottesville? Spend that money on something for the seniors to do.
Interesting.
And another project that's had some delays. And we're going to welcome them on the show. I just booked this interview for next week. Colleen Shear, one-time assistant coach for Julie Myers with the women's lacrosse team. Head coach for JMU women's lacrosse, Colleen Shear. She and 2 other partners are opening CVille Smash, a pickleball facility in the old Marshall's location. She is scheduled for Thursday, June 19th, to talk about CVille Smash, the indoor pickleball facility that is soon to open. There's some expectations that they will open, let's see, late August, first week of September for CVille Smash. I mean, you talk about Dr. Halpert, Daniel, who's bringing Coco's, the indoor adventure park, the indoor theme park, and the old Big Lots location. He hopes to open in January. Let's see if that opens on time.
Yeah.
All these clients and inner circle friends and people that we're consulting and conversating with, all saying the same damn thing. I'm going to tell you right now, when Tubby's does this fire sale on June 28th, you're going to see that equipment sell for nickels on the dollar. When the Champion Brewing Company fire sale happened, the auction, the manufacturers of the beer company, the manufacturers of the brewing equipment were one of the primary buyers of Champion's equipment because they didn't want the Champion beer equipment to flood the market and water down price point. So the manufacturer is literally going to auctions and buying their own equipment back to preserve price point. Think about how unhealthy that space is, where the manufacturer who builds the equipment to sell to brewers is going to auctions and buying the equipment for pennies on the dollar so the equipment does not flood the market and water down price point. That ain't healthy. Conan Owen says, he's the owner of Sir Speedy. You may see Conan and I doing some business here. Ball's in your court over there, Conan. I enjoy chatting with you. I think you got a lot of things to say, Conan. He says, time is not a commodity. It has different values to different people. A bushel of wheat does not vary. I appreciate the comment he's making. Time is my most precious commodity. I'll put that. How about I say that? My most precious commodity is my time. Because when I'm working, when I'm not working, I want to be spending time with my wife and kids. Maybe playing some racket sports. Anything you want to add that we didn't get to today, Judah? Maybe working on my suntan. I've been working on my suntan lately. Anything you want to add?
Not really. I will say that we, of all the insanity going on in Charlottesville, we now have FBI knocking on.
That story is crazy.
Knocking on Charlottesville area lawyers,
public defenders,
homes.
The FBI
at 7 a.m. in what is clearly some type of I don't know, strong arm. Not strong arm. I don't think they're.
No, it's called terror, fear tactic, terrorizing. The FBI is going to the homes, the actual residences of public defenders, surprising them in the early morning hours, as early as 7 a.m., banging on their door to terrorize them.
And their families.
And their families. Imagine what if you're in a neighborhood in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, and a boatload of FBI agents show up at your door and bang on your door. That's happening in Charlottesville. We were on a list of sanctuary cities. Did you see that?
Yeah. It got taken down real fast because it was, of course, absurd.
Homeland Security had Charlottesville on a list of sanctuary cities. Cities where illegal immigrants were being
offered
sanctuary.
Yeah.
Asylum. And then it was removed quickly from the Homeland Security website.
Yeah, because it was patently absurd.
Tom Powell says, thank you both for the show. I'll relay a story from last night. My wife and I are celebrating our 8th wedding anniversary last night at Vivace Restaurant, one of the best restaurants in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, period, bar none, Vivace Restaurant. Food priced fairly, food that's delicious, service with a smile, fantastic environment. My wife and I like to sit at table 68 in the bar area across from the popcorn machine at Vivace. It's loud enough where our maniac children can be themselves without disturbing anyone. Unfortunately, yesterday, our 2.5-year-old was getting a little rowdy, picked up a fork, threw it over his head and over his shoulder, and hit a 73-year-old grandma in the temple.
Oh, man.
In the temple with the fork. She was very kind and said, I've been there before. I know what it's like to have children and grandchildren. Thank God. We're enjoying an old-fashioned me, my wife a spicy margarita. The boys are getting the pepperoni pizza, some of the best pizza out there at Vivace. We're having fried calamari. I had the carbonara. My wife had the, is it croquettes? some kind of pasta dish. And it was just an absolutely fantastic experience. They
Thanks.
have it dialed in, ladies and gentlemen. The labor force at Vivace is often young, teenage, high school age kids, as a lot of restaurants should be and at one time were. The bartenders are the ones that know your name, know your drink order, and have been there forever. They got an outside dining area. They got a bar area, seating inside, plenty of parking, priced great. I just continue to be impressed with Vivace. Continue to be impressed. All right, that's the Wednesday edition of the show. Check ilovecville.com later today. We'll syndicate it across the I Love CVille Network. A timeline of the last 12 months at the University of Virginia. Boy, oh boy, this timeline of events is going to go viral once we publish it. Thank you for joining us. For Judah Wickower, who last night at Vivace got props from people in the bar area commending us on the show, saying how much they enjoy the I Love CVille show, and literally brought up that guy Judah compliments what you do very well. You guys do a great job.
They were all drunk.
They were not drunk. This was at 5:30 in the afternoon. They were at
Joking.
5:30 in the afternoon. It was happy hour. I want to commend you, though. I think some of the best shows we do are when you are offering your valuable commentary.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. For Judah, I'm Jerry. Thank you for joining us.